Ladies and gentlemen, it's 1:07 on a Saturday afternoon on this beautiful Mother's Day weekend. And you know what that means. It means that it's time for Inside Georgia Real Estate with my dear sister, Deborah Morton. She is the founder, the owner of the agency Atlanta. And she is a brilliant realtor. And she knows everything about Georgia real estate. But before we go any further, my sister.
I am so excited.
I want to tell you something, though. On behalf of everyone on the Shelly Winter Show and listening to us right now, we all want to tell you Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you.
We love you very much.
Thank you so
much. All right, we have a guest. Introduce your guest.
Not to skip over Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. I have with us here in the studio today Jeff Ledford, who is the External Affairs Officer for the Georgia Association of Realtors. Now, Jeff, I'm excited, but the public doesn't know who you are or what you do. What is the External Affairs Officer, and how do you help homeowners here in Georgia?
Sure. So we are very involved in looking out for private property rights and getting more people the ability to have home ownership.
Right.
So we engage with the state legislature, we engage in local governments, and we engage with government entities.
So to cut to the chase, you're a lobbyist.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay, good.
Right.
We'll just sum it up for everybody.
That's fine.
So the Georgia Association of Realtors, to give everybody a quick summary, is different than the state licensing. We have the Georgia Real Estate Commission regulates our licenses. The Georgia Association of Realtors is a voluntary association, which in my mind, it helps us all stick to and adhere to a higher level of ethics. Super important to differentiate between the two, because if you've been listening for a while, you know how much I argue in favor of making sure that you are well represented by a quality and professional and skilled realtor.
Exactly. Licensure is basically just the base threshold. I always say it's what the state's job is to make certain you are not incompetent to ruin someone's life. You have met a minimal threshold.
Yeah, that's not enough.
16-year-old.
It's not enough.
Yeah,
no.
You're a 16-year-old driver. That's about it.
Right.
The realtors is you are aspiring to professionalism and adhering to a code of ethics.
Right.
So you are trying to be better.
And I'll point out, this hour goes fast. A primary benefit to being a member of the Association of Realtors is we have access to all the forms. And that might sound like not important to somebody who doesn't understand, but your realtor is going to be negotiating contracts that you are held to, legally required to adhere to. The forms and contracts we use are provided and updated for us. Every 6 months, we get a contract update, and I go to a class and learn about the updates. The contracts matter. And Georgia's forms, I've seen other states' forms, they are phenomenal. So we're able to use a standardized form in all of our contract writing. That's like on a daily basis, something that matters. So if you're thinking of buying or selling, you should be familiar with the contract we're going to be using. And I always do that for our clients.
And they change every 6 months. Like, what's the change in a contract? It could be a comma or a word. I mean, what's the...
significant stuff. So as the laws change, as there are court cases, as there are challenges to something that has happened, whenever, that triggers changes in the forms. A good example, a couple years ago, we had something where every broker was obligated to disclose about the existence of a certain law.
Gotcha.
And so we worked that into the forms so that became part of it before the law kicked into
The
effect.
thing that most people care about is compensation. And like I
when you say most people, realtors, I know.
No, the public.
But the public too? Okay.
Yeah, and the contracts outline clearly for transparency. So when the National Association of Realtors got sued in that class action lawsuit a couple years ago,
right,
a big part of it, I was like, my God, what happened in Connecticut to put us in this situation? Because in Georgia, we did not have the issues that we're having in other parts of the country because our forms were already clear and transparent. Everything was already articulated.
Gotcha.
So people are like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, but not in Georgia. I like how our forms are here. But that's not the only thing Jeff does. He goes to the legislature. Y'all, I mean, we just finished a session, and I think it's important. Like, the thing that passed, everybody was happy about was House Bill 406.
406, that's correct.
And that, I'm going to let you.
Sure, yeah. 406 is, it's the Homeowners Bill of Rights for homeowners associations. Homeowners associations go back to about 1975 for condo associations and about 94, I think, for the property owners associations. And then there's a third class, which are just the HOAs that are established by covenants running with the land.
But co-ops, which go back a long time, have always had co-op boards.
Yes, very similar. So this would encapsulate all of those. So all of those, and actually the co-ops go back to the older style, the HOAs of covenants running with the land.
Right.
All that is a much older, I think it goes back to about the 1840s.
Gotcha.
But this now brings all of those under one registration with the Secretary of State's office, $100 per association to register. But that gives you one place to go to so that you can if you have a grievance, if you have something, it's your first course so that it doesn't have to become litigated.
Right.
It doesn't have to become an expensive process.
And let me give you some practical applications for that. How that benefits us is, I'm going to speak to condo buildings right now. I talk about the condo market being slow in Atlanta because a lot of the buildings are not warrantable. And what does that mean? That means that there's some sort of litigation or a problem with the homeowners association, the community, and we can't get lenders to lend. We can't get mortgages on these properties because of pending litigation.
Right, the pending litigation. The other thing is, again, it assigns a referee at the Secretary of State's office to handle some of the minor disputes so that they don't have to rise to a bigger issue. The biggest thing that this gives is since the time where these were created back, 50 years ago plus, you've had more openness in government. Now, the government also, in the two sections that created the condo associations and the POAs, it gives enhanced abilities to these entities that are almost a quasi-governmental function. What they never got was the transparency that we have under the Sunshine Laws. So under our open records and open meetings laws, you don't 100% hit that with the HOAs.
Our listeners know that like HOAs is the hottest topic when people go and we talk about it because of the power that HOA have over communities and homeowners, and there was no place to argue on your behalf. The HOA had all the power, and now there's a little checks and balances put into place.
This gives a modest approach in. The biggest thing that I think this brings is the transparency.
Yeah.
The transparency to that. It also it brought in another bill that toward the end got packed into this, and essentially all it does is it says before you're assessed attorney fees by your HOA, so they're starting a collections process that they have to notify you in really kind of
it's funny.
Well, what about trying to not evict you, but foreclose on you, all of that?
I've actually never encountered a foreclosure because of that. I think that was rare. But what has happened a lot, somebody hires me to sell their home, and then we find out that there are thousands of dollars in penalties. The homeowner cannot sell the home. I can have a contract. I have a buyer. Everybody's ready to transfer the money and move along. But the closing attorney has to have a clearance letter from the HOA to finalize the transfer of deed. Yep. And without the clearance letter, we're dead. Right. We are absolutely stopped. And we have had closings not just delayed, but not happen because the homeowner was completely unaware that their HOA had a $3,000 backlog of penalties and fees.
Here's a question to the both of you. You, Mr. Ledford, and you also, Deborah. Is it necessary for grown people in a building or a small community to even have a homeowners association?
There is no requirement to have a homeowners association. The issue is if you choose, and this is always a private contract, if you choose to live in a community where you've agreed to a set of rules, that essentially is what a homeowners association is.
And you can't sign and buy a home. You're going to sign a disclosure form that you acknowledge it. Yeah. You cannot then go back and say, oh, I'm not going to abide by those rules.
What if now? Do you have to? So let me ask you a question. I'm buying a home in a community. They have a homeowners association. Can I opt out before I purchase?
Not usually.
No.
I've never seen one like that. But there are homeowners associations with voluntary participation. Those are the older ones, and they will allow a voluntary, and that's usually just for minor maintenance. Put some flowers at the front of the neighborhood kind of thing.
Right. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. Those are the numbers. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. Those are the numbers to call. In the studio with us, with Deborah Morton, is Jeff Ledford. He is the External Affairs Officer for the Georgia Realtors, Georgia Association of Realtors. He has all the questions about the politics.
Yes.
Around real estate and purchasing and buying and selling. So 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. We will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Georgia Real Estate with Deborah Morton. She's the founder and broker of the agency Atlanta. She knows everything about Georgia real estate. And inside in the studio with us as special guest is Jeff Ledford. He's the External Affairs Officer for the Georgia Realtors. Deborah, you wanted to finish the answer.
I do want to say homeowners association do have value in preserving property value. If there are many communities all over Georgia where, we think about how you want to maintain your neighborhood, what your neighbors can and can't do. That's the purpose of a homeowners association, because a house down the street that has, a car up on blocks, or it's painted a funky color or whatever, your property's value is impacted by your neighbors' homes. And that's what a homeowners association is supposed to do. Maintain the pool and the tennis courts. If that adds value to the community and it's in poor shape, it diminishes the property value. So I just want to make sure that there are two sides for every story.
Absolutely.
And we talk a lot about the people who hate their homeowners association power and control. But on the flip side, there are healthy boundaries that are put in place that preserves property values.
Right.
And if you have invested heavily in your home and you want to sell your home and retain that value, your neighbors impact what's going on in your area.
So can we just 30 seconds longer on this discussion? Because every time I hear stories about homeowners association, they're always negative impacting somebody. And so how does that help me in the value of my home if I can't sell it because no one wants to move there because of the homeowners association is doing so much?
No, a homeowners association, it's always individual.
Okay.
Like it is. Like if you have a blight, like you might have an issue with your homeowners association.
But then no one else does.
Right.
Gotcha.
It could be, Shelly, who's the problem?
Me.
Me. So I wanted to hit that because the legislative session just finished up and so that passed. But something that didn't pass and get all the way through is the tiny home piece.
Sure.
Yeah, Jeff, tell us about that.
There was a piece of legislation on tiny homes. We were supportive of this because it was in check. Essentially, what it would do is allow someone who lived on homestead property. So you had to qualify as a homestead. This is your place where you live. This is not just an extra property you have. You had the ability to build a home or to build a dwelling of less than 400 square feet on your property. Now, when you get into the HOAs, this did not preempt an HOA. So if you don't like the idea of your neighbor having a smaller dwelling in their backyard, it had to be in the backyard, then in an HOA you would not have to worry about that. But if you are someone that wants to be able to do this, you simply would not purchase into an HOA. Now with this, it was aimed at the two categories I think of with this are the adult child that hasn't moved out yet, or the aging parent that wants to age near their family.
Right.
Hands down, that is the most popular, like multi-generational living is the thing that we need the most because it's an affordability issue. You've got college-age students living at home for extended periods of time or forever, and aging parents that say, so we could have 3 generations living on one property.
I really want to have a deeper discussion about that because here's my question. You guys answer it on the other side. I buy my property. I buy my home. I've got a big backyard. how is it possible in America that the government can tell me what I can put in that big yard and who can live there?
Exactly.
We'll come in on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Address it on the other side. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. I'm on my anti-government, I guess. I took my anti-government pills this morning.
Let's go, Shelly.
Let's go. We'll be right back. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. We will be right back.
When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
It's Inside Georgia Real Estate with Deborah Morton, the owner of the agency Atlanta. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. Let's take a couple calls. In the studio with us, Jeff Ledford, External Affairs Officer, Georgia Association of Realtors. And now get back to our question that I asked before we went to break. Charles.
Yes, I was wondering if I could sell, like, part of my property. Like, I live in Upson County. I'm Thomas. This is Charles from Thomaston. Talked to you last night, Shelby.
Okay.
But could I sell, like, the acreage I have behind my house? I have 18 acres, and the house sits on about 3. You know, if you look at the fence line.
Sounds.
Could I sell off?
You can sell part of it if depends how your deed is recorded and what you signed with your mortgage company. The mortgage company likely, and I don't know this for sure because I haven't seen how your documents were written, but most likely the mortgage company has a lien based on your residence, the home and the acreage. So just check your documents with your mortgage. You would have had in the packet, the fat packet of papers the attorney gave you at closing. It's in there. What the mortgage has there's a lien attached to the property and it's probably attached to the house. I help people do things like that all the time. So I don't, like, just from this casual conversation, it doesn't sound like a problem to me. I don't work Thomaston, but if you'd like a referral to somebody in the area that's reputable, send me a message on InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com, and I'm happy to connect you with a pro in your area.
Yeah.
All right, Charles.
Well, that sounds good. Appreciate that. And I'm sorry I didn't win the contest last night, Shelby.
Oh, yes, Charles. Okay. Thank you. And happy Mother's Day to your family, Charles. We got to go on to our next question. Yep. Let's go to Ray. Go ahead, Ray. Thanks, Charles, for calling. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, hello. Good to speak with you. Apparently, several years ago, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled in favor of a municipality to acquire a private piece of property so that they could increase their tax-based revenue from that location. How much of a problem is that going to be for people like me who can see development coming my way in my residential location?
Jeff?
Well, so are you said the Supreme Court ruled that the local municipality can take that land for that purpose. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
This happened about 3 or 4 years ago in the Northeast.
I think that was a little further back in time. It does seem kind of fresh. I think what you're talking about was out of New London, Connecticut.
Yeah.
In Georgia, we actually did put something in place to protect you with that. And so a municipality, the last time we worked on this was in 2017. I think it was House Bill 434. It amended, it's in Georgia law, it's under Title 22, Chapter 1, and it's under eminent domain. The local government cannot take your property unless they have determined there's 2 things they have to look at. It either has to be a public right-of-way, like a road construction. That's a different part of the law. But eminent domain for what this was for a different type of use. It was for economic development. They cannot take it simply because they want to and there's a better use.
Right.
They can only take it if it's truly blighted, and we put in an extremely high threshold for blight. Has to be 2 out of 5 things. There's a list. Part of it is a property that has been a haven for crime, or it is has been burned down but not completely removed. There's a lot of little things like that, but they cannot simply just take the property. They have two options if they do take it. One is that they either have to maintain it for a public use for at least 20 years, or they can put it onto the market, but only for the same legal use. And so, in other words, not simply to increase the tax base.
All right.
Okay, that answers the question.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling.
When we're going to break, we were talking about HOAs and tiny home legislation,
Sure.
right? And I asked the question, why would the government have the power to tell me what I can build on my own land?
That's a great question. So that's something that we're always looking at is limiting some of what the government says you can and cannot do. Currently in Georgia, it's estimated a little above 27% the cost of a home is in government regulations.
Okay.
So
that's a great. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
27%.
Over a quarter of the price of a home. Yeah.
It's just in regulations.
Just in
Right.
regulations.
And
So
that's nuts.
So when we had talking about the Georgia Home Builders Association, this was the topic: is any reduction we can get in the costs of permitting, because that's from the time they purchase the land before you even see a home go up. There is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars invested. And time is money.
And it's just in regulations, 27% just in regulations, that if you took those regulations away, your home is now 27% less expensive to buy or build, right? Is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah, and obviously you can't take all regulation out. You got to have some level of
for
safety,
safety's
some
sake,
things like that.
we absolutely need
soundly built homes, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But anywhere you can reduce that, it makes homes that much more affordable. Which that's the key. I always say there's not one magic pill. Well, it's not just that.
Builders are hesitant to the amount of risk.
Oh, yeah.
If with developers with land and building, that's why they're not building excessive homes. Like the inventory levels remain low because they're not willing to put the risk out to build. And there's an assessment there, and that's the cost.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the keys that we did get done this year was in Senate Bill 447. And what it did was it simply addressed permitting and the time frame on permitting. So if I go to build a home and the process is taking months upon months, I'm paying on every single month that land, everything that I've.
So what would happen is they would submit a plan, and the city or the county or the authority would send it back with a request for a revision, and that would restart the clock ticking on the amount of time.
Exactly.
And that was the delay.
So what ended up passing, essentially, they have 45 days to either approve or deny, and if they do have that request, they have 15 days when that comes back to either approve or deny. So
really shrunk the time.
That's good.
Yeah, shrunk
the time. That doesn't extend out the period. Time is money.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yes. So on that, but on the affordability issue is where we're going with this.
Sure.
And back to the tiny home thing, it's in the media right now because let's say California, not that we want Georgia to turn into California by any stretch. Yeah, I don't mind shouting that from the rooftops. But we do have issues with multi-generational home. We have affordability issues, and we have families that want to live together on their properties. And having opportunities to do this would be good. Now, a homeowners association, if it's not allowed, it's not allowed. Right. However, you could go to your HOA board and make a request, and then it's choice. Your homeowners association can decide to deny your request. Or they could say, you know what, based on the architectural plans you submitted, it meets our standards and we could do it. But now that gives the authority to the neighborhood association to make that decision.
And as far as the government saying you can do this or not, that was the key of this bill. So this did not preempt a homeowners association, given that's a private agreement.
But it sounded that way in the media.
It did.
Yeah.
What this does is there was a case out of Calhoun, Georgia last year. And it was challenging whether you could build tiny homes or not. And they ended up prevailing. And so this was something that is approaching this. It would only apply to one dwelling behind a homesteaded property. and a local government could not prohibit it based solely on the
Gotcha.
size. Other things would still come to play. So if your septic can't handle it, your septic's not going to handle it.
Right.
If you've already maxed out the coverage on your lot, then you're not going to be able to do it. So you still have to comply with the regulations. It's just it can't be denied based on it being a small dwelling.
And I think going slow is smart because we also have to consider the burden on water supply, school systems, roads, traffic. Police.
Okay, now it makes sense. See, okay, I'm okay now. I'm
Good.
okay.
I'm
The government can do this now. Yeah, because if you didn't do it, everyone would start doing it, and it put too much pressure on the infrastructure. Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm cool with it.
Right.
I'm cool.
Well, and then what that could do, think about in Atlanta, we've got people who maybe want to downsize, but to replace their 2-story home that's too big for them, to buy something else costs more than they're going to get on this home, and that doesn't make sense because it's half the size or less. So we have that's why homes are not being freed up. We don't have homes to sell because people won't leave them because there's no place to go.
Right.
Something has to give, and this might be an opportunity to create housing that is affordable and that fits people's lifestyles and helps build community. There's nothing wrong with families living more condensed. Grandchildren have access to grandparents. And I mean, that's back to community, which is what I try to always circle this back to. How do you build communities? It's through housing.
Exactly. Yeah.
404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk, Inside Georgia Real Estate with Deborah Morton. We still have Jeff Ledford. He's External Affairs Officer for the Georgia Realtor. He works with the politicians to help the people, the realtors, the buyers, and the sellers, us, the community. You talked about community. When we come back, I want you guys to talk about what's going on up at Ackworth.
Oh, yes.
Up in Ackworth, I should say.
Big things. We got Finley Roofing up there cooking barbecue at the Smoke on the Lake Barbecue Festival.
We're going to talk about that. And then I want Jeff, when we come back, I want you to tell us one final piece of legislation that the legislators are still looking at that the people should call up and ask them to pass.
Sure.
If there is one. All right, 448-720-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, our last segment of Inside Georgia Real Estate with owner of the agency Atlanta, Deborah Morton. So, Deborah Morton, the last couple of years you've promoted this event. It's a highly successful event in my favorite part of the state, Ackworth. What's going on in Ackworth?
So the North Cobb Rotary Club has its annual event, the Smoke on the Lake Barbecue Festival at Logan Farm Park. You've heard me talk about community and how you can impact your community for good by getting out and getting involved. I use the Rotary Club for that in my community and area. Cobb County, every area has opportunities for people to engage, whether it's your school board and your PTA, a Rotary Club, a business association, scouting. However you can get out in your community, your homeowners association, y'all get out, meet your neighbors, get to know one another. I am so excited that Jeff was here today that I'm going to ask him to come back again because there's so many things that I want to share with everybody that they need to know about real estate and homeownership and the legislature, because we have institutional investors, wholesalers, bills that did not make it through. Jeff, give us a quick summary of...
Sure. We had some legislation. We have had some legislation in recent years dealing with the wholesaler issue, making it so that there's more transparency that has to be provided to the consumer.
They drive me nuts.
Oh,
what's a wholesaler in real estate?
Sure. It's someone that does not have a license. And simply what they're doing is they are coming to you as an investor, but they're never actually buying the property until they've sold it to someone else.
You know all those texts and phone calls you get?
Yeah.
Everybody's getting hundreds of text messages.
Oh, you've got to crack
calls.
down on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do have some good consumer protections that have been put in place, especially if they're targeting the elderly. And so that has happened. Senate Bill 90 and House Bill 1292 from a couple years ago have dealt with some of that. We did have one this year that would have cracked down a little tighter on them. Did not make it mainly because of timing, but that also had licensure for home inspectors. So hopefully we'll see that come back again next year. And
home inspectors don't have to be licensed?
Do not in Georgia.
All right.
It's crazy, Shelly. The home inspection reports, what we deal with out there, again, I sound like a broken record, but if you don't hire somebody who knows what they're doing, you are putting yourself and your family at risk.
Appraisers are different, though.
Right. Appraisers have been licensed since 1992.
Right. So home inspectors, that's a whole new cat. Why do I need an inspector if I've got an appraiser?
Appraisal is value, and home inspector is the structure.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Jeff. That was excellent.
That was excellent.
Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Say hello to your family. Get out in the community. Jeff, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners?
I think we got until next Tuesday for House Bill 406, the HOA bill, to hopefully be signed by the governor. We're looking forward to that. If so, that brings a lot of transparency to something that really needs it.
We'll be back next Saturday.
Absolutely. InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com is where you go if you could not get your questions answered or if you couldn't get through on the lines.
And if you're looking to buy, sell, or transact real estate, give me a shout.
InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com. Go to InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com and send Deborah an email.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. God bless all our moms out there. And happy Mother's Day.
Atlanta, get ready to go big. Join us May 29th through 31st for the grand opening of the all-new Cycle Gear Superstore at 2999 Cobb Parkway. At over 23,000 square feet, it's a massive new destination for the riding community. Enjoy food, music, and exclusive grand opening deals. Plus, meet your favorite brand reps and win your share of thousands of dollars in product giveaways, including Alpine Stars helmets and airbag systems. Cycle Gear. Get there, start here.